All right. Hey, everybody, this is Terry Luongo, and it's Monday night. So, welcome to our live broadcast of our Team Up Juice Plus gathering. I hope everybody had a wonderful 3-day weekend. I know I certainly did here in Texas. My new description of luxury is when I can have a slow moving morning. And that was accomplished 3 days in a row here. So that was great. Tonight is special because it's a little bit of honoring two people that I just love and respect so much, Jen and Henry Hagemann, who have developed this program called the Mindset Diet. And I've known Jen and Henry for 30 years. 30 years I have known Jen and Henry. And they have put so much time and effort into this presentation. And I'm going to tell you, it's getting rave reviews around the Juice Plus community, not just our Team Up community, but I'm hearing about it from groups from every single part of the Juice Plus world. And so they do it live twice a month, a live broadcast on Wednesday nights that you can plug into. But I thought tonight we would celebrate them by watching the recording, let them relax, put their feet up, and they can see how magnificent they are. And I just thank them so much for doing this, because I'm going to tell you, in this day and age, people are curious and people want to know more about brain health. And so it's an important topic for such a time as this. So Jen and Henry, thank you. Guys, know that this recording will be on available to you. And I will highly recommend that you use it as a tool to encourage people to take a real serious look at Juice Plus and our Luminate and our Omegas. All right, Kathy, whenever you're ready.
Minimize this so that we can read our slides, and we should be good to go.
Talk about the Mind Diet.
Tonight is the Mind Diet. Oops, hang on.
We are Henry and Jennifer Hagemann. We are both national marketing directors with Juice Plus. We've been here with the company for 33 years. And when we got started, we both had elderly parents. Mine were a little older, but we had some issues with them. We had young children that we were dealing with too, 3 and 7 to be precise, 2 girls. And we had issues of running 2 businesses. Jen was very much involved with horses. I was very much involved with a small contracting business. And then I was already on prescription drugs in my 30s. And what was really striking to me was I was taking care of my father. I hadn't gone looking to take care of my father, but he suddenly needed the care. And he was 50 years older than I was. And he had not been on any prescription drugs anywhere near my age. Wasn't until late mid 80s before he was on any prescription drugs. So I knew I had an issue. I just didn't know what kind of issue, and I didn't know really how to address it. And what I found out was my father started having big mood swings, and then he, like 16 million Americans in the US, really ended up with mild cognitive impairment. And MCI can be an early stage of Alzheimer's, which is what the story was with my dad. 10 to 15% of those people with MCI will develop dementia each year. And the CDC states that 1 in 9 Americans, which is just appalling, are living with SCD, which is a lesser form of MCI, but it's called subjective cognitive impairment. And there's not going to be a quiz afterwards, but it's a little bit of alphabet soup, but it is degrees of dementia.
And the thing is that cognitive impairment and really is tied in many ways with mental health. And it's not just the elderly that are dealing with it. A huge percentage of the adult population, their brains just aren't working as well as they did for that same age group 20 or 30 years ago. Almost 20% of the population have some kind of anxiety disorder. And it's also not just adults. Adolescents, almost over 30%, almost 32%, between 13 and 18 are affected by some kind of anxiety disorder. And there may be a lot of reasons for these, but it's very different than what it was a generation ago.
And I mean, just look at antidepressant use in 12 to 17-year-olds has more than doubled from 2005 to 17. I mean, what is that about? I mean, it's horrifying.
So some of the research that we're going to share tonight is, you may or may not have heard of it, but this is a huge study looking at the brain development, cognitive development in adolescents. And this study, I don't even know how many centers are involved with it, but dozens, and it's spawned almost 1,000 papers to date. So if you get a chance, go check this out. It's the ABCD study, which is the Adolescent Brain Cognitive Development Study. And one of the key findings of that study and many others that we'll go through tonight is that there is this profound link between your dietary choices and your brain health. And I will just share that, when we got started on this health journey, we weren't really thinking of cognitive health because my dad was sick. I assumed it was a very genetic linked disease. It was not, but my assumption was that it was. And so it was by his illness that I suddenly had to sit up and take note of the fact that many chronic diseases actually don't have a genetic link, or as much of a genetic link as you expect. I won't say there's none, but it's a much smaller percentage. And there's this huge connection between the diet that you have and your lifestyle too, but the food that you eat and the health that you experience. We're going to go through a whole bunch of that tonight.
And I think, you go start looking at articles and in scholarly magazines or publications, and you'll find this link again and again: nutrition and the risk of Alzheimer's disease, the effect of diet on brain plasticity. What you eat can impact your brain and your memory. How a healthy diet may help your brain age well. And then, of course, nutrition and ADHD, which is a massive problem.
I mean, I think every parent in the world understands that when their kids who are dealing with ADHD eat better, they just have better behavior. So it really, the science is just catching up. And here's the thing is that, like I experienced with my dad, you might think that genetics is the controlling factor, and it does play a role, but you can really overcome or impact those genetics in a positive way with your healthy habits. And that's the message here, which, for me, it was a very empowering message to hear. I suddenly realized, what, I have a lot of, I don't have any control over the genes that I inherited, but I have a lot of control over my diet, what goes in my mouth, and what my lifestyle is.
And I found this the other day. It's a great article, series of articles on stress. And everybody's familiar with it. I just don't think everybody's aware that it really can directly affect the brain, the cardiovascular system, joints and muscles, the immune system, skin, gut, and the reproductive system. I think people just think, oh, I'm stressed, and it's just sort of a general malaise, but it's not. It's very specific. It can be very focused.
And the thing is that if you then take that stress and you look at that stress down at the cellular level, that's referred to as oxidative stress. And, it's going to happen. We breathe, we have a metabolism, you exercise, this is all going to happen. But it's your ability to keep up and handle that stress that's important. We're designed to eat foods that are naturally high in antioxidants, which are your fruits and your vegetables. When you eat antioxidant rich foods, you neutralize that oxidation. But if you don't, then you can't keep up with that oxidation. And it's that degree of oxidation that's aging. Aging is oxidation. Oxidation is aging. And so your goal in life, or certainly my goal in life once I learned this, was, okay, I need to make sure that I'm eating to keep up with the oxidation that's going on.
And, everybody here probably is familiar with most of the items on the right side of the page here: Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, memory loss, depression. Asthma was my deal. Chronic bronchitis was Jen's. Almost every American has some sort of cardiovascular issue due to, really a poor diet. It's just, you go down the list: rheumatism, arthritis. Everything has its root in inflammation, which can, get back to oxidative stress in each cell. But it's the inflammation that is happening on a system-wide basis that is causing these issues, these diseases to manifest.
And the thing is, we've been talking about systemic inflammation for a long time. We just haven't necessarily either had the science to support what to do about it, or have it become kind of this general awareness that we really need to be eating an anti-inflammatory diet. It's I mean, this is a Time magazine article from 2004, so
Which we had, and if we still had it, it would look pretty boring.
we do have it in a notebook somewhere, but it's 20 years ago, you know. So systemic inflammation is something that has been out there. It's just the science hasn't necessarily caught up with it, but it's catching up now. And this study was so exciting to see because it specifically looked at dietary intake and systemic inflammation. And their finding is the most empowering one. There's a known association between diet and systemic inflammation. Thus, we recommend that clinicians discuss plant-based whole food diets with patients, particularly those that suffer from chronic inflammatory diseases. So, you know, the science is there now so that these studies can tell people, tell practitioners, hey, this is what we need to be talking to people about. Yes, treatment, okay, but make sure you have the conversation with them about eating a plant-based diet. Get those plants into your body.
And you know, what's good for the brain is good for the rest of the body. You know, and sadly, my mother, your mother, our grandparents were right on about eating fruits and veggies. I hate to say it, but they told us so before we had any science to prove it. You know, what's really good for your heart, your blood vessels, is the best food you can eat for your brain.
And one of the studies that just came out recently was looking at this intensive lifestyle change in terms of the ability to reverse certain symptoms of Alzheimer's. And here's the thing, you know, as Henry just said, what's good for the heart is good for the brain. And if you think back, you know, we didn't used to think that cardiovascular disease could be slowed down. Maybe we thought it could be slowed down, but we certainly didn't think it could be reversed. And now we know it can be reversed. The really cool thing that's very empowering, in my opinion, is that Alzheimer's and MCI share a lot of the same risk factors as cardiovascular disease. So guess what? If you can reverse one, you can reverse the other, right? And again, it's specifically the oxidative stress that leads to systemic inflammation. So what they found in this diet was they had people eat a ton of plants. I mean, they basically had them eat a vegan diet. And they found that the people with the highest veggie consumption had a 38% lower risk of Alzheimer's in the first place. And those people that also had a good source of omegas going into their diet had a 60% lower risk. I mean, 30% impressive. That's almost 40%. 60% is huge.
Pretty huge.
And here's the other part. They actually had signs of reversal after 20 weeks on a plant-based diet. Now, some of the other factors were moderate exercise. They had to take a walk. They had to have stress management. You know, we get right back to that stress again. And then they had a support group. So they had a community that they were a part of, that they were discussing things with. And this whole thing started for Henry and me when I sent Henry out to do an errand. I wanted him to get rice cakes for me, and he came back from the grocery store with this magazine, The Mind Diet. And the Mind Diet is the Mediterranean intervention for neurodegenerative delay. It's really quite specifically looking at what can you do to delay your neurodegeneration. How can you keep your nerves sharp? And we'll spend a minute on that because there's this whole other group of foods called adaptogens and nootropics that neither one of us had really thought about until we heard about them last spring. And here's the key distinction. Adaptogens help the body adapt to stress, and nootropics help the mind adapt to stress. So if you think about it, you want to have a plan for handling stress. I understood that oxidative stress was caused by not having enough antioxidants from food in my diet every day. So my goal became, I want to eat a lot of produce because that's where the antioxidants are. I didn't realize I also needed to have a strategy with plants for how my brain and how my body were handling stress specifically. And so that's what adaptogens and nootropics do.
And you know, improving memory is really something that I didn't think was possible. I thought that you could maybe not have it get worse, but we're now seeing science really back lion's mane mushrooms, which is in one of our products, and it may double neuron growth. I mean, if you can double the neuron growth, you can significantly impact cognitive function for a long time to come. Imagine having that in your system every day. And this study, the Gimlet study that we just found the other day, a friend of ours who said, wow, I found this study, it's just incredible. And it talks about the brain gut axis, really looking at this connection, this direct connection between the gut, what's going on in the microbiome, and what's going on in the brain. And this was a study that really looked at the people that ate more mushrooms and algae. And we're gonna talk about two products that have mushrooms, very specific mushrooms, and very specific algae in them. Just had a significant improvement in terms of cognitive function. And this is a large study that was really looking at a Japanese population. And it's just amazing to see that they're really dialing this in to very specific causes.
And we could probably spend a month on just looking at the microbiome, because the microbiome is it's so intense in terms of what it does for your immune system, but the connection between your gut and your brain, you got to listen to your gut, right? We've all heard that.
This whole concept of gut microbiome dysregulation, when the gut gets out of balance, the cross-sectional and strongly associated with both MCI and dementia. So if you lose that balance,
your gut's a mess.
You're not doing well upstairs.
Yeah,
it's really the truth. And you go out on the newsstands, and every time we go through the market, I see another magazine, and these are just a sample of them. Just focusing on foods that heal, balancing your brain, the science of staying well, the age of adaptogens. I was late to the party with those, but now I'm all in. Eat your way to a healthier life. Brain food, natural allergy relief, brain boosting nootropics. They're out there, and people are really coming to understand that they need them in their diet.
And the cool thing is, what you need is a really short list. This is really my message to you. That's the most important. You need fruits, you need veggies, you need berries, you need omegas, and we've just shared a little bit about why. And then you need adaptogens and nootropics. And I didn't even know they were on the list until last spring, but now that I know, they're a part of my daily routine.
And what's really tragic is that most people on the planet are not eating them. And an estimated 3.9 million deaths worldwide were attributed to inadequate fruit and veggie consumption in 2017. And here we are in 2024, and I can guarantee you that consumption has gone down.
Hasn't gotten better. And the reason is for a number of different challenges. We got quality issues, we got availability issues, we got cost issues, we got habits.
Study after study have been done. This is just one study that was done by the Cushy Institute, and really looked at the nutrient components of produce grown some in 1975 and then in 1997. And they found that calcium was down 27%, iron down 37%, and vitamin A down 21%, and vitamin C down 30%. So it looks like a carrot. You should be able to get the same bang for your buck that we did when we were kids, but you don't. And it's just hollow food, and it's actually more expensive.
And one of the challenges is how we grow our food. Everything is on average covering 1,500 miles before it gets to your plate. There's just no way things can be fully ripened, even if they were grown in great soil and all the practices were fantastic. We used to live in Southwest Florida, and we used to see these huge semis leave Southwest Florida full of tomatoes. Gargiulo is the big tomato grower down there. The tomatoes were all green and rock hard, and they had to be because there was so much pressure in the truck from so many pounds of tomatoes. So by the time they get north, they do something to them to make them red, but they're no riper. So, there's just this inherent issue with moving produce this much distance and then trying to have that produce be nutritious.
And then, as I said, everything is more expensive. Inflation really hurt people because produce went through the roof. and it may be coming back down a little bit now, but the quality is still lacking in this produce. It looks beautiful, and they're getting more money for it than they did 30 years ago, but the quality of the produce is just vastly diminished.
And the other challenge is that a lot of people just don't really know what food is. You know, if you think about what's in the grocery store, most of it wasn't there 100 years ago. You know, most of it's just not really even food. It's so hyper processed. And this whole category now of ultra processed foods is coming to the forefront also with its own research. And that's another whole topic that I'm sure other people will be discussing. But they're just, we really have a misunderstanding to a large degree of what food actually is.
And you know, it's really hard to get people to make any shifts. You know, what we eat is closely tied to how we define love, fun, and comfort. And Margaret Mead said it best. You know, it's harder to get a man to change his religion, or it's easier than it is to get him to change his diet.
We've
and if anybody has talked to anybody about making a dietary change, you know it's true.
I will do everything, but I won't give up that.
Yeah, I can't, you know.
It's amazing. So families end up eating like this. And, you know, our family was never this extreme, but we certainly had our share of it, you know, where you just couldn't do. Someone wouldn't eat peas and someone else wouldn't eat corn. And so neither one of us really liked to cook. So
one of my favorite TV shows growing up was The Jetsons, and so many aspects of The Jetsons' life were great. And one of them was the idea that it could be painless eating. You know, you just get carrots and corn and in a capsule and be on your way. And
so,
we know we've run into it later on in life.
We actually found someone who had Jetson food, which really was just a miracle for us because we had been juicing, trying to make up the difference with what we knew we weren't eating. It was expensive. It took a lot of time and effort every day. And as Henry shared, our girls were 3 and 7 at the time, and they wouldn't drink it. You know, they looked at that brown glass or green glass and said, no way, I'm not going to do it. So when we were introduced to Juice Plus, it just made perfect sense to us because they had done what we were trying to do in our kitchen already. They had done the juicing for us. So Juice Plus is literally fruits and veggies and berries in a capsule. And then you just take them as a capsule. When we added this to our routine, we had no expectations, but it just made sense to us. We knew we were not eating enough produce, and this was something that we needed to add to our diet.
And for me, it was just a no-brainer when I heard about it, because if we had tried juicing and we were spending $10 to $20 a day, and as Jen said, our girls thought we were crazy and said, yuck, that's gross, we're not eating it. And we were really desperate. I was really terrified having seen Jen's dad in person towards the end, and I wanted to do whatever I could do to avoid ending up going down that road. And I heard her dad had a doctor that sat us down and just gave us the facts of life about diet and lifestyle being about 95% of the equation and genetics being the other 5. And so I was really dedicated. And so I just had never heard of being able to get fruits and vegetables in this form. And so I started on it really day one. No science behind it. Nobody had tried it other than people in the home office. And so I didn't have any expectations. I was just looking to not look like my father-in-law in 30 years. And so I was shocked that within day 3 for me, I was awake at about 2 in the afternoon, and I had a level of clarity in my brain about what I'd eat. I just had the sense that I could pause. I wasn't on this treadmill of, I've got to move on to the next stimulant. And I had really gotten to a place where I was just living on fast food. Prior to Juice Plus, I'd had a lot of stress taking care of my parents, and I had found myself drinking tons of coffee in the morning, having huge breakfasts of eggs and bacon and the whole 9 yards, which was delicious, but with the hope that it would carry me to lunch, and it never did. I would always crash and burn somewhere around 11. And then I need fast food to get me back to some sort of balance. And then I need to crawl under a tree and take a nap because the 6,000 calories I had for lunch were wearing on me. And it was really at 2 in the afternoon on day 3 that I was awake. I was alert. I didn't need coffee. I wasn't needing a nap. And I just was aware, like, wow, this is really different. And I really didn't associate it with Juice Plus at that point in time. But I found in subsequent weeks that my weight started falling off because I didn't need as much. I didn't need 3 sandwiches and a big fries and, an apple pie and the shake and the whole 9 yards. I just could get by with 1 or 2 sandwiches, and I didn't need, pots of coffee. And so I just had less calories going in. And so within 6 weeks, I dropped 18 pounds, and I had energy. I had to walk. Jen remembers asking, do you want to take a walk? She was like, well, where did you come from? It had been years since I really had the energy to do that. And I got myself back on the tennis court. And amazingly, because of the berry blend, I was able to overcome exercise-induced asthma, and found myself being able to run, and actually got myself in the first St. Jude sponsored, Juice Plus sponsored St. Jude Marathon, which I ran, and made it all the way through, did 2 marathons. And, this is my story. It was an extreme story. Not many people had that kind of a shift, but I became really fascinated about what was going on, what was making that change in my body. And so as soon as I realized that alcohol and refined sugar and a lot of fat wasn't really what was, making for long-term health, I started moving the other way. So I started really doing other things. I improved my diet along the way. And as Jen said, we make no claims. Juice Plus had never made any claims that would cure or mitigate a disease. This was just my story. I knew I needed fruits and vegetables. I couldn't get it any other way, but it totally was the catalyst that I needed in order to make that break from my sugar addiction of a lot of alcohol, a lot of refined sugar and donuts. And you can't believe what I ate before Juice Plus.
It's pretty
it was
bad.
amazing. And I did constantly. That's the thing. It was incredible. So it's no wonder that in 2 years, I dropped 70 pounds, and I have kept it off for 30 years without any effort, because this is what my body wants to be like.
Right.
And that's the most incredible thing about it, is there's no willpower involved. This is just getting the right food in there that made the difference, that helped me break that addiction and move into a healthier lifestyle that I never wanted to look back.
And I
didn't do it for Jen, but
yeah, I love Juice
Luminate.
Plus from the standpoint that it just made sense to me. We were trying to juice, that Henry shared. We couldn't get our girls to do it, and so this just made sense. And so I got on it for prevention. That was like a long-term strategy for me. If I had all this produce going in my diet every day, I figured that was going to be a plus. And I didn't really expect to notice anything. He had this lightning rod experience. I did not have that experience. I definitely have always felt better on Juice Plus than I did before. And my skin, my hair, my nails, I had a lot of sort of little things that improved over time. And then just being in this community has been so supportive for us in terms of the education and just being around other like-minded people. It's been easy for us to make good choices and live a healthier lifestyle than the rest of the world, basically, because the influence around us has been so good. So Juice Plus has been a huge positive for me, but I didn't have that huge response to it that Henry had. And so when we went out to an event in the spring, and they were introducing, the company, Juice Plus, was introducing this cognitive health drink called Luminate, which was nootropics and adaptogens. That's where we kind of first heard about them. I thought, well, I'm not really doing anything for cognitive health. So, I love Juice Plus. I love the research. I love the culture. Let's add it. I didn't expect to notice anything. And so, it's just going to be another part of our regime of good health. And so when I got on it, first day I had it, okay, tastes great. This is nice. We can do it every day. second day, I had the same exact response to Luminate that Henry had to Juice Plus. My whole world changed. My entire relationship with food changed. My entire relationship with sleep changed. My entire relationship with hormones that women of my age tend to experience changed. I mean, it was just, my whole world changed, and it was just extraordinary to me. And that's when I took in, okay, this whole thing. Got the shakes, which we've always made the shakes, the complete and the perform, a part of our routine. They're some of the best food that we eat, and they have, the Luminate has mushrooms in it, the omegas have some algae in it, and then the complete shake has some more mushrooms in it. So, you know, there's a whole bunch of different plants here that you're probably not getting around to on a regular basis. I know we weren't, and we were trying really hard.
And I think the thing that's so gratifying after, 30 plus years of taking Juice Plus is that now we have the science to really explain why, why we had those changes. It's bioavailability. It gets into the blood, gets into our system. Immune function improves, provides protection from antioxidants. It's biomarkers of inflammation, DNA protection. I mean, it is just, you go down this list.
It's a huge list.
These were done at major universities all over the world by some of the best scientists in the world, and all published in some of the best science publications available. So you can't ask for more than that. And we have a study that was done on cognitive function with the fruit, the veggie, and the berry blend. And that showed that there were two groups of people. It was a double-blind crossover study. So one group was on Juice Plus, didn't know it, but the other group was on a placebo. And they had 4 areas: working memory, selective attention, processing speed, and executive function. These are the 4 main areas that they really define what cognitive health is like. And in the group that was on the Juice Plus, significantly higher. And then as they crossed over and became the group that was on the placebo, they went back down to baseline, and the group that had been at baseline went up. So this stuff works, and it works consistently day in and day out in our system.
And the average age in this group was 33. These aren't seniors they're doing this on. These are people in their 30s, which is pretty amazing.
It's incredible.
And the other part about Juice Plus is it's super affordable. Like we've shared before tonight, we were juicing. We were spending $10 to $20 a day. And that was, not eating a very wide variety.
Sustainable.
It was not sustainable. It was a ton of work. Juice Plus is either $267 a day or $375 a day. I mean, it is literally less than Starbucks. We don't go to Starbucks often, but when we do, we're $10. He gets an Americano and I get an oat latte, and we get the little ones that were still $9.57 or something. So, this stuff is, in terms of prevention, in terms of health, in terms of other expenses that you've got in your life, Juice Plus is a really easy thing to swing and add to your diet. So obviously we're raving fans, we love this. We will never go a day without it. We were going to tell people about it anyway, for a lot of reasons. One of them is that everyone we know is in the same boat that we were in. They don't have time. They're leaving their kids' practice and swinging through McDonald's because they've got to eat because everyone's hungry.
Taking care of their parents.
The sandwich generation for sure. And the big thing we saw here with sharing this was that we could create an income that would allow us to be stay-at-home parents. And that was our line in the sand.
That was really, really important for both of us.
And it definitely allowed us to be, to take care of our parents. We spent a number of years taking care of Henry's parents. And then most recently, when my mom got sick, we were able to drop everything and go take care of my mom and just be her primary caretaker and keep her at home for 3 years. And, it wasn't necessarily easy, but it was a privilege to be able to do that. So I don't know.
Absolutely. No, I just can't say enough about what this has done for us in terms of health and in terms of providing us options.
Yep.
And giving us a time to spend with kids.
Yep. And so I just want to wrap up with a couple of questions. You know, what if you tried this? What if you tried the Juice Plus? What if you tried the omegas, the shakes, the Luminate? And what if you found it to be as extraordinary for you as it's been for us? Would you tell someone about it? I think you probably would. I mean, usually when we find something that's really extraordinary or new or fun, we tend to tell people about it. And what if they fell in love with it too? You know, that's pretty much what our experience has been, is we've shared it with people and they have said, wow, this makes a lot of sense. This is really changing my health. This is changing my world. I want to stay on it. And what if the company sends you a check, you know? It's a pretty cool thing, right? And what if that check kept growing? How could that change your life? What would you do differently? I want you to just sort of play a game with me here. Imagine that tomorrow you go to your mail and you see a letter from some random law office that you've never heard of before, and you open it up and you find you've got this long lost great uncle you didn't even know that you had, and he's left you an annuity for the rest of your life of $1,500 a month. How would that change your life? What would you do differently? I mean, obviously you'd pay all your bills first, you know, but it's coming in every month. So after you've got all those bills paid and your debt paid down and all that other stuff, what would you do? Would you go back to school? Would you help someone? Would you travel? Would you live somewhere else? Would you drive a different car? Would you send your kids to private school? Would you send your grandkids to summer camp? You know, what would you do? That's the kind of ongoing income that you can create here. And so I encourage you, if you'd like to try that on for size and just think about some of these possibilities, get back to the person that invited you to tonight and say, hey, tell me a little more about this. Tell me how this whole thing works, and learn a little more about it, because believe me, we have been blessed with what this business has done for us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely blessed. Can't even go into the half of it in 30 minutes. But I encourage you, check it out, because it can be a game changer for you for sure. So thanks so much for joining us. I am going to stop sharing my screen so we can say goodbye to all of you. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Hope that this was helpful, and we will post it again when we do it again next time. So thanks so much for joining us.
Have a great night.
Have a great night.
Fabulous, huh? All right, yeah, give it up. Give it up. Jen and Henry, beautiful, beautiful piece of work. What a blessing you are to the Juice Plus world and the Juice Plus community. And guys, this recording is available. I'm going to make sure it's on boards. If you don't have access to boards, give me a shout out and I'll make sure that you get this link, okay? So that's good night to everybody, and we'll see you next Monday night. And have a great week.
And we're doing it Wednesday night. So
Oh, this coming Wednesday. Okay. Jen and Henry, go ahead, Jen, say it again.
we're doing the Mind Diet again this Wednesday night.
Okay, so
8
live.
to 8:30 Eastern time.
Okay, and that is always, that information is always available on the Team Up Facebook page.